Dímelo mi gente, Marco Che here in another video, and today we're going to talk about a potential top signal. This is one of the biggest top signals I've ever seen, and if you're planning on altcoin season, then you might have to rethink this. Anyways, this is coming from Coinbase Institutional. It says, altcoin season is coming as September approaches. The transition to a full-scale alt season is likely. And yeah, I mean, I don't know when alt season is going to happen. A lot of people, if you do not know what alt season is, basically is when altcoins or other coins are not Bitcoin start pumping like crazy, you know, where you see like 100, 1,000 plus gains. That's basically alt season. And Coinbase is basically saying, we think current market conditions now suggest a potential shift towards a full-scale alt season. We're going to be going over all of it, what my thoughts are, and if we are in alt season or not. Anyways, before I start off the video, I will be traveling to Puerto Rico for my dad's birthday. It's his 50th birthday, so felicidades, papi, te amo, if you're watching this video. But yeah, really funny stuff. And it's actually super funny that Coinbase, you know, posts something like this because majority of their business is, you know, in trading. So it makes sense why they're posting this. But after reading it, you know, I like some of it, I didn't like some of it, but we're going to be going over all that today. So if you like the video, please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know my dad, leave a happy birthday comment for him. I'll show it to him when I see him. Anyways, it says, at a glance, in March 2025, we wrote, we think that markets could potentially find a floor in H1, so half one of 2025, leaving us in positions to make new highs later in the year. So, you know, if they wrote that, they were right. So let's take this, you know, with a grain of salt. Not everyone is right, but, you know, they were right here, so I'll give credit where credit's due. It says, key takeaways, that market thesis has mostly played out as we expected, given the alliance of stronger than expected macro conditions and a clear crypto regulatory framework. One area where our view has evolved is on altcoins, which so far have not gathered significant retail momentum in the cycle, but could be supported by recent tailwinds. And I will say though, obviously, if you started buying altcoins this year, expecting them to pump, whatever, started buying them in November, you missed out, right? You should have been buying altcoins, you know, in 2022, 2023, when FTX collapsed, even 2024, right? That's when you should have been buying. Right now, we're in a bit miss of a bull run already. You know, Bitcoin has gone up from what, like it was 30,000 to like 120,000 in like 2-3 years. So yeah, I don't know about that, but, you know, let's see. I am so bullish and I think everything's going to go up, but I don't know. Anyways, summary. Our third quarter 2025 outlook remains constructed through our view on the altcoin season has evolved. We think current market conditions now suggest a potential shift towards a full-scale altcoin season as approach September. A common definition for altcoin season is when at least 75% of the top 50 altcoins by market cap outperform Bitcoin over the preceding 90 days. Many people have debated whether Fed cuts in September could represent a local top for crypto markets. We don't think so. With significant retail capital sitting on the sidelines in money market funds over $7 trillion, which is actually a lot. In other places, we think Fed easing could unlock greater retail participation in the midterm. And I'm mostly generally right, but a lot of people are expecting those rate cuts. So we could see, you know, in September, some really highs and lows, right? Like, one day they say something, the next day they say another thing. So yeah, right now there's a 94.5% or 95%, let's just say, Fed rate cuts in September and potentially October too. So, you know, let's see. I'm not saying that they're going to happen. Hopefully they happen for our sake, but, you know, the market's already pressing it in. So there might be a little bit of sell-off, but I mostly agree with them at this point. So focus on ETH that diverges between a largely substitute altcoin season index versus 50% growth in the altcoin market cap since early July largely reflects the increasing institutional interest in ETH. This has been supported by the demand from digital asset treasuries and the growing narrative around stablecoins and real-world assets. Tokens like Arbitrum, Athena, Lido, and Optimism all trade at a higher beta to daily ETH returns, though it seems only Lido has benefited from the recent ETH rally with its 50% month-to-date gain. In the past, Lido has offered relatively straightforward exposure to ETH given the nature of liquid staking. Moreover, we think Lido's appreciation has supported by the United States SEC statement that liquid staking tokens do not constitute securities under certain conditions. So Really interesting. All these, well, not all these, Arbitrum and Optimism are Ethereum layer 2s that we've gone over in the channel. Athena and Lido, we have gone over to the channel too. So if you want to watch those videos and my thoughts on them, go ahead and check them out. Probably have to do, an update video because they were done quite a while ago. So now we are going to enter alt season. Bitcoin's market dominance has declined from 65% in May 2025 to approximately 59% in August 2025, signaling the early stages of capital rotations into altcoins. CoinMarketCap's altcoin season index currently sits in the low 40s, well below the 75 threshold by which they historically define alt seasons, even though the altcoin market cap has climbed over 50% since early July to 1.4 trillion as of August 12th. So that is pretty good. And a lot of people have been, worried. This is probably most likely due to, coins like Hyperliquid. Some of the larger cap coins have recently risen, right? Some of them have not risen as much, but it's always good that the number keeps on climbing. Hopefully we see 2 trillion sometime soon, but let's see. We think that current market conditions have started to signal a potential rotation into full-scale altcoin season as we head into September. So the first chart is altcoin open interest dominance ratio has spiked. We can see here is right now at almost half 1.1 trillion, right? So our conservative outlook is based on both macro perspective as well as our anticipation of major regulatory advances. We previously numbered how our custom global M2 money supply index leads Bitcoin by 110 days and points to a fresh wave of potential liquidity in late Q3 2025 or early Q4 2025. This is important because for institutional capital, it seems like narratives keep back to large cap names, which leaves altcoin support to come mainly from retail investors in our view. And that is mostly true. If you look on CNBC or all the big major, TradFi players or everyone that's talking about it, they mostly talk about Bitcoin. Some talk about Ethereum. Some talk about like XRP, Solana, for example. But mostly it's with those large caps, right? So as of right now, I do agree with the statement. Mostly altcoins stay with like retail investors, let's call it, like regular people where they see, oh my God, you could make like 100x gain on whatever coin, a random coin, and a lot of people lose money on that. And also, even in some of the, I'm not going to say in the top 50 because I think the top 50 projects are probably almost all cemented, right? But even in the top 100, there's some cryptos that I would just not invest. Like it's just narratives and storylines and hey, maybe it hits. I'm not going to say it's not going to hit, but that's why probably capital is still staying and probably will stay in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because those are the safest for institutionals to go and invest, but not to say it's not going to flow eventually into those once they start making money. The narrative is come in a little bit stronger, etc. And as Bitcoin continues to increase and Ethereum continues to increase, like Ethereum, after people say it's going to go to 20,000, 60,000, I don't really know. I'm not a TA specialist. I tend to not do price predictions, but usually when Ethereum rises and Bitcoin rises, it slowly goes into some alts. Not all alts, but some alts. Notably, around 7.2 trillion is currently sitting in US money market funds, the highest amount on record. So that is pretty impressive. Cash balances declined by 150 billion in April, which we think enabled stronger crypto and risk asset performance in subsequent months. Curiously, however, cash balances have picked up to over 200 billion since June, which is at odds with the crypto appreciation we've seen over the same period. Typically, there tends to be an inverse relation between crypto prices increase and cash balances. So yeah, like I said, it looks like some people are taking risks and others are not taking as much risk as before. So really, who knows with this market? Even in the regular stock market, like sometimes, I don't know, say Tesla doesn't beat expectations, doesn't beat earnings, and they still go up like 15%. No one really knows. It's been a crazy market since I started coming in. It's like 2019, 2020. So we think this unprecedented cash stockpile represents missed opportunities caused due to increased uncertainty in traditional markets because of trade conflicts and other issues, expensive market valuations, and lingering concerns around economic growth. However, the Fed rate cuts looming in September and October will think the attractiveness in money market funds will start to wane and see more capital deployed to crypto and other risk asset classes. So hopefully that happens. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but hopefully that does happen. And yeah, I mean, there is a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. And even, some people that I know that have, more money than me are still worried about getting into crypto, right? So I do know that there's still a lot of money left on the sidelines, but, it's slowly getting there. Indeed, RC score measure of weighted crypto liquidity based on factors including net stable coin issuance, spot and perp volumes, order book deep, and free float suggests that over recent weeks, liquidity has started to recover following 6 months of decline. So that is really good to see. ETH betas, I'm not going to get really into it. I will say though, this is really important. Just Bitmine Immersion Technologies alone has bought 1.15 million ETH with a new raise of 20 billion. That gives it a total capacity to buy 24.5 billion worth of ETH. The former leader of ETH DATS was Sharplink Gaming. So yeah, and they hold around 598,000 ETH. So yeah, ETH treasuries are starting to pop up. ETH, and I showed this in one of the recent videos, since its inception has been one of the biggest, trade investments that you could have ever done. So yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. The conclusion. Our third quarter 2025 outlook remains constructive through our view on altcoin season has evolved. The recent decreases in Bitcoin dominance suggest that an early rotation of capital into altcoins rather than a full-scale altcoin season at this stage. However, with the altcoin market cap climbing and the altcoin season index showing early positive signs, we believe conditions are setting up for a potential rotation into a more mature altcoin season as we head into September. Our optimistic view is underpinned by both macro factors and expected regulatory progresses. So, in terms of the regulatory progresses, hopefully the Clarity Act gets signed into law, and a lot of crypto laws are signed that are positive for the sector. There's a lot of laws that I've seen recently. New York today, I think, announced like a 0.2% tax on digital transactions. So I don't know how that's going to go. But yeah, hopefully there's more regulatory progress, I think. And I will say, though, before you invest in any of these technologies, please, please, please use them. Use them. Do not invest in anything that you have not used before. Do not invest in anything that you just saw someone else post a video on it and said, oh my God, this is going to the moon, this is going to skyrocket, blah, blah, blah. Like, test it out, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anyone's other word for it. Take your word for it. That's my strategy when I'm trading and investing. I try to invest in stuff that I use or I really like. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on that. Anyways, kind of a long video. There's going to be a hurricane happening in Puerto Rico. Hopefully it doesn't hit. Pray for me. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't get hit. Hopefully I still have electricity to post out the content. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.